Welcome to the Diary of Africa, where we explore the rich tapestry of the African continent. Join us as we delve into the vibrant cultures, inspiring histories, and dynamic present of Africa. Smash that subscribe button and join our incredible community. Your support means the world to us and helps us create more content that you love. Listen to what Ousman Sonko said to the France representative. To make their country what it has become, we can do more and better and achieve more than better. Our challenge is here in Applause Africa. The monetary issue is one that we find fundamental because, Mr. Melenchon, as I said, we have a country to transform, and this extraordinary youth that you see has high expectations. That is why the most difficult part is not having a program with axes saying we will do this in agriculture, this in industry, this in the provision of essential goods and services. That is not the most problematic for our countries. The most difficult part is finding the resources where they are. And our resources are enormous but elude us, and we go looking for them where they are. Under this chapter, I would like to say that currency, as much as taxes, is a powerful economic lever and an instrument of sovereignty. You spoke earlier about sovereignty. We cannot overlook it. Imagine for a second that France could have a currency that doesn't truly belong to it. No state worthy of its name should compromise its currency. As an example, General de Gaulle understood this so well that on the eve of the Normandy landing, when Winston Churchill informed him of the Americans' intention to impose on France, after liberation, a new administration and a currency called the Flag Bill, the general flew into a rage. "You know these fits of anger. Go fight the war with your fake money," he retorted. This bill circulated only briefly in Normandy from June to August 1944 before being definitively withdrawn. This is what we discussed regarding the monetary issue in our book titled Solutions for a New Senegal Music. I said then that we unequivocally opt for a cautious exit from this exhausted system, as central banks have lost all initiative to change, maintaining this reserve rate, compressing our economies, and reducing internal activity by limiting monetary issuance. What we propose is to restore the currency's functions of exchange and economic financing by formulating offers for export and domestic consumption, supporting industrial policies, and so on. That's why today, we aim to strengthen our national financial market through various levers, including foreign investors willing to fill our savings deficit partly in local currency. Imagine that African countries borrow in foreign currencies and are thus exposed to market fluctuations. Almost no African country can borrow in its local currency, and this must stop because we suffer the consequences. What we also want is a flexible currency, at least two currencies, capable of cushioning exogenous shocks and supporting our export competitiveness. I cannot elaborate on all aspects of the monetary issue, but if I mention it, it is because every time an African politician raises the monetary issue, they become the devil incarnate. Applause. We do not have the right to talk about our own currency. It is never debated in Parliament, it is refused on television platforms. And yet you can debate the euro on the French National Assembly's platform. That is why we make it a debate and impose it. I think that within the community framework, the latest developments we have seen are surely leading us towards these much-desired reforms, which will not be long in coming. Another issue is security, particularly the presence of foreign military bases in Senegal. This presence raises legitimate questions. More than 60 years after our independence, we must question why the French army, for example, still benefits from several military bases in our countries and the impact of this presence on our national sovereignty and strategic autonomy. Recent historian, not a historian, I may be wrong about the dates and even the facts between 1956 and 1958, that is, after World War II. The Americans planned to install nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles in France. The project stumbled over the dual issue of command and control of these missiles, whose deployment was seen by the French military as a good way to increase NATO's deterrent power. The French Air Force found it unacceptable for the missile squadrons to remain under American command. These units had to be under national command. Upon taking power, General de Gaulle again, during the defense meeting on June 7, 1958, insisted that these weapons be under French control and that France reserve the right to give its opinion on the triggering of a possible nuclear war. These conditions were deemed excessive by the Americans to the point that an agreement could not be reached. Another example, in May 1966, General de Gaulle committed France to withdraw from NATO's Integrated Command, which then had about 10 military bases in France. We know the consequences and justified this decision by the desire for France to be self-reliant, a desire incompatible with a defense organization where it was subordinated. I reiterate here Senegal's desire to be self-reliant, a desire incompatible with the enduring presence of foreign military bases in Senegal. This does not call into question our defense agreements. We maintain defense agreements with many countries: the United States, the United Kingdom, even China, I believe. We can have defense agreements without justifying that a third of the Dakar region is occupied today by foreign garrisons. The fourth point is the fair gain from our own natural resources. As we said earlier, the model we want for ourselves is based on optimal mobilization of endogenous resources. We thank all our partners. The European Union is the leader in development aid. 51% of development aid comes from the EU zone, with 20% from the Union itself and 80% bilaterally. This is good, but if you compare or contrast this with what we lose in the actual economic relationship, through the exploitation of natural resources and the clauses of public contracts exploited in the country, I assure you that we lose 10 or 20 times more. Can have defense agreements without justifying that a third of the Dakar region is occupied today by foreign garrisons. The fourth point is the fair gain from our own natural resources. As we said earlier, the model we want for ourselves is based on optimal mobilization of endogenous resources. We thank all our partners. The European Union is the leader in development aid. 51% of development aid comes from the EU zone, with 20% from the Union itself and 80% bilaterally. This is good, but if you compare or contrast this with what we lose in the actual economic relationship, through the exploitation of natural resources and the clauses of public contracts exploited in the country, I assure you that we lose 10 or 20 times more.